morning, students. Thank you for joining this morning. I want to extend my greetings to all the students in the different regions. I want to say good morning to all of you. I am Mrs. Omado, responsible for Educational Foundation 2. This is the examination contact class. You know this is a very important section, and I have taken time to go through all the topics relevant to what we have done, and I have, based on my going through these topics, I have come up with some revision topics I will want us to go through. Now, I have noticed that we perform better when we are given the topics to go and do some research than when I come here just talking and talking. And therefore, the contact section is going to be more about you doing the work yourself. I have given the relevant topics in the syllabus, and I want you to go and do research and prepare yourself. How do you prepare yourself? You prepare yourself by going through these topics. Buy yourself an exercise book, make notes, read other sources, and compile your notes and go through them when you are going for the examination. Now remember, there are going to be 3 examinations. We have the April examination, the August, and the November 2021. All of these have been put together. There has not been any demarcation. The reason being that I need you to understand the content of the module. I don't just want you to memorize and then at the examination you just regurgitate what has been given to you. That is not learning. That is what is called rote learning. So I want you to do some research, back up your work with good research work, and then come prepared for the examination. Now, having said that, I said that my presentation is going to cover the April, August, and November examination 2021. Now, having said that, I want to look at what the examination format looks like. Now, the examination is for a duration of 2.5 hours. And talking about the question papers, all the question papers consist of one section only with questions requiring essay type answers. You are required to answer all the questions for each of these examinations. Now, what are the important things that we need to bear in mind? The first one is make sure that your student number is written correctly. Make sure that you write the correct module code. Read the instruction on the question paper carefully. I can't overemphasize this. The need to read questions carefully before you begin to answer. Sometimes you know what to do, but because you don't read the questions carefully, you rush into it, and then you mess everything up. So it is important that you read the instruction on the question paper carefully and ensure you understand what is required before you start writing. Answer questions in the correct order in accordance with the question paper so that you will not get confused. It doesn't mean that if you know question 2 better than question 1, you can just put question 1 there, then start with question 2, then after that you go to question 1. Now, it is also important that you make sure to write the complete answers. Do not leave out part of questions. I have observed that people don't even make effort. Sometimes sit down and write something. It could just fetch you 1 or 2 points. Don't leave out complete answers. Apply your answers to your field of study. That means make reference to what we are doing. Make reference to education. We are in education, so your reference should be in education. Now take note that you are not permitted, as you know, to take any form of notes into the examination room. That you already know. It is stated in the institution regulation. You shouldn't do that at all. And in order to prevent that, make sure you read very, very thoroughly before you get into the examination hall. Time is very costly. Some of us write very slowly. Plan your time wisely. Write as quickly and neatly as you can to ensure that you finish on time. Now, it is also important, students, that you consider the marks allocated for each question to determine the length of your answer. Always look at the mark allocation. You cannot write 2 lines when the mark allocation says 10 marks. So it means you are required to at least produce 10 facts. So please look at the mark allocation before you begin to write. Please concentrate on the module outcomes. That is equally important. Now, about this revision I'm going to do this morning. These revisions, like I have told you, the revision covers the 3 examinations. I'm talking about the April, the August, and the November 2021. I said earlier on that I have not separated the revision according to the exams. No, I haven't done that. Now, the reason being that we are not reading just to pass the exams, as some people tend to believe. I just need to pass this exam. But you know that you will be required to practice this when you go out. So I have not compiled this examination according to the months. Rather, I have put them together so that will enable you to cover the course content. Now, I have provided the revision topics. It is now your responsibility to go through these topics. I have also stated here the relevant books or study guides, as we are using both Educational Foundation 2 of Dr. Brunet and Education Foundation 2 of Mrs. Nemat. So these 2 study guides will be very, very useful in your passing this examination. Sometimes you are calling me without consulting the study guides. Please only call me when you have gone through the study guide and then you do not have relevant information. Then I can be of help to you. Now, having said that, I am now going into the examination revision properly. Now, the examination revision, I am going to highlight the topics and the relevant ones we need to understand before the examination. Now, if I take Unit 1, which deals with philosophical schools of thought on schooling, you will need to go through the following. You will need to take the study guide and go through the following. 1, you will need to understand the meaning of philosophy and sociology of education. Please note the module is about these 2 courses, philosophy and sociology of education. And so you cannot claim to have done the module if you don't understand these 2. So it is also necessary, number 2, the point 2 there, to understand why a teacher should study these 2 important subjects. So read around the books, the study guides, the textbooks, to find out why a teacher should study philosophy of education and sociology of education. And while we were going through the study guide, you have seen that we have so many philosophical schools of thought. Now, we will need to understand the influence of these philosophical schools of thought on teachers. So read around it. You can consult the study guide by Dr. Brunet. He talked about the influence of physiological schools of thought on teachers. Another thing we will need to go through here is the 7 socio-cultural needs that the study of sociology of education can help us to understand. So we will need to understand those social cultural needs that studying sociology of education will enable us to understand. And that topic was well dealt with by Mrs. Nemat. Now, having said that, I'm still on Unit 1, the futures and value of sociology and philosophy of education for teachers. Now, I'm making reference here again to Ms. Nemat. Now, you will need to use the study guide of Mrs. Nemat, to look into the relationship between freedom, responsibility, and accountability in education. So, there is a relationship that you will need to determine. You will need to read what freedom is about, read what responsibility is about, read what accountability in education, and try to marry these three concepts to see the relationship that exists amongst them. Now, having said that, I am still on Unit 1 that is about philosophical schools of thought on schoolings. So here we will look at, this is the most covering about 60% of what we have to do here. Now that is the philosophical concepts. Now the philosophical concepts, they are important. They are not just there for us to read them, they are there for us to read them and understand them and apply them. We read them, we understand them, we apply them. So we are going to be looking at some philosophical concepts. One, we will look at the meaning of each one of them and also how we can apply each one of them to education. Now, what are these philosophical concepts we'll be looking at? We'll be looking at the concept of epistemology, ontology, logic, ethics, metaphysics, anthropology. We'll be looking at realism, perennialism, idealism, and progressivism. So, and pragmatism, that we will also look at. So, these schools of these concepts have been well dealt with by Dr. Brunet. So, if you can lay your hands on Educational Foundation 2 by Dr. Brunet, these concepts are well explained for you. They are explained in a very easy and simple way that you will understand it. So you will need to read them. If there's any of this concept that is not clear to you, then you can call me. Now, the concept of pragmatism. Now, that is the brainchild of John Dewey. So we need to also look at John Dewey's views on education and the importance of play to children. And we will also need to find out whether majority of teachers for the pre-primary learners understand the importance of play. So it is important for us to find out whether many of these teachers, the teachers in the school system, whether they understand the importance of play, especially to the pre-primary school learners. Because play is very, very important. I don't know whether the teachers think play is just pushing the learners out to go and play, but play needs to be well designed so that it can be useful to the learners. So I have also referred you here to Educational Foundation 2 by Dr. Brunet, where you can read up these topics. It's been well explained. The application has also been well explained so that you can get used to them. Now, having said that, I will also need you to go into Unit 2. Unit 2, that is where the topic is the subject sociology of education. So here, I would like you to, 1, look at the differences between education and schooling. If you go to the study guide by Mrs. Nemat, she has dealt with this topic very nicely. You can also look at the difference between formal and informal education. I have also referred you to Dr. Brunet. Sorry, the Brunet, the B, there should be a capital letter. That's a slight mistake. Dr. Brunet, he has also dealt with, as well as Mrs. Nemat, they have dealt with formal and informal education. So it is also important, point number 3, to know the aim of education from the sociology of education perspective. If you haven't heard of that, you may need to consult the study guide by Dr. Brunet. He has also talked about the aim of education from the sociology of education perspective. What it means, class or students, that you will need to read both study guides. Everything you need, you will find in these study guides and some of the relevant books you have. So you need to consult these guides. Make them your friends. Take down time to read them. Make sure you read something every day. Don't wait until it's April before you begin to call and say, Mrs. Omalo, why did you not divide the exams April, August, November? You have enough time to really look through this, because when many of you just don't go through these things, you keep them, then when the examination is coming, then you are calling, asking why it was not demarcated. I have explained the reason, so read the topics as I have put them here. Now, having said that, Unit 2, we still continue with that. The subject, sociology of education. Another point you will need to look at is, what is socialization? You will need to understand that, and you'll be able to discuss the differences between negative and positive socialization. In other words, we have negative socialization, we have positive socialization that you can read up from Mrs. Neymart's book, Study Guide. Now, point number 3, understand the different types of socialization we have studied in the module. That will be the primary socialization, the secondary socialization, and the tertiary socialization. All of that are explained by Dr. Brunet very nicely. Now, you need to study again what happens during primary and secondary socialization. I would like you to understand what happens during these socialization processes, the primary and the secondary socialization. You will need to understand what happened and be able to discuss them. Now, having said that, I'm still on Unit 2. We will need to read the agents of socialization. Agents of socialization, those agents, we dealt with them when we were in our assignment, even though we concentrated on one. The agents of socialization, we have the family, the peers, the public opinion, and the schools. Now, that is also explained well in Dr. Brunet. I put this study guide for you because I try to check where you can easily understand them. And I come up with these 2 study guides. They are really very nice and very helpful. So you can read them. If you feel when you read Mrs. Neymart is not working for you, then go to Dr. Brunet's study guide, it will be clear. Or when you read Dr. Brunet, you are having a problem, go to Mrs. Neymart, you will get all the information. So the next point there is, you must understand why public opinion and the peers of a child are regarded as agents of socialization. That you can read up from Dr. Brunet. Now, the third point there, read how a teacher can promote positive peer relationship in his or her class. We can also go through those topics there in the topic 2, and that also was explained very well when I read it by Mrs. Neymart. We can also go to Mrs. Neymart and read around that topic. Now, having said that, I go to Unit 3. Unit 3, we are talking about sociology of education, the themes and the perspectives. Now, what are we supposed to understand in this particular unit? There are certain things I would like you to understand. Number 1, you should be able to understand and be able to draw the diagram of Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Now, we know that Abraham Maslow has classified human needs under different levels. We have the physiological needs, we have the security needs, we have the social needs, and so on. So what am I expecting you to do here? I'm expecting you to know these different levels of needs, and if possible, be able to draw it. The diagram is very easy. If you cannot find the diagram, you can also go into the internet. It is all over there. You just click Maslow, Abraham Maslow hierarchy of needs, you get it there. you get the whole thing there. So you should be able to acquaint yourself with this diagram of Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And you should be able to explain how the child meets these different levels of needs. These are different levels of needs, but how does the child meet it? That is the explanation which you need to look around. And you might not look very far. If you look at the study guide by Dr. Brunet, he has also explained that very well. Now, having said that, I am also on Unit 3. I'm still on that Unit 3. Physiological issues regarding school curriculum. That is Unit 3 in Dr. Nemat. Now, he's talking about, if you get that Dr. Nemat, Mrs. Nemat's study guide, he's talking about values in Unit 3. So, I would like you to understand the term values. Values, class, the students. Study why it is important to have good moral values. Why do we need to have good moral values? If we don't have good values, we cannot do anything. We may have all the subject content, but if we don't have the appropriate values to go with it, we may not go very far. So I think that is why the issue of values have come in here, because it goes hand in hand with our understanding of our subject content. Good subject content plus good moral values, you will get very far in life. So using that, Mrs. Nemat, try to understand the term values, study why it is important to have good moral values, very important, and also understand the challenges and ways of developing moral values in a democracy like ours. We know it's going to be a lot of challenge. What are the challenges you think we face in trying to develop moral values? That you can read up. You can read Dr. Mrs. Nemat's study guide. That is also well explained there. You can also read other relevant textbooks. There are also textbooks dealing with moral values, challenges of developing moral values in a democracy. There are so many books on that. You can go and read those books. Now, having said that, I go to Unit 4. You know, we have according to our syllabi, this model educational foundations 2 goes from Unit 1 to 5. So for Unit 4, we have dealt with Unit 1, Unit 2, Unit 3. Now this is Unit 4. And Unit 4, students, is talking about sociology of education, a perspective on the family. Now, what am I expecting on this particular unit for you to get familiar with? I will expect you to read around the effects of the absence of a child's parent in his or her upbringing. What I'm expecting you to find out is how it will relate, how does it relate to the challenges we face in education, the absence of the child's parent in his or her upbringing, the effect it has on teaching and learning situations in schools. We know that many learners are having this problem where the parents are not there, and we have these learners in our classrooms. Now I want you to look at the effect this absence of parents have on teaching and learning situation in the schools. Now following closely to that, I would also like you to read about the qualities of casual parents with laissez-faire attitude. It should be laissez-faire, please. Laissez-faire attitude. Parents, casual parents. How do they bring up their children? And following that closely too, I would like you to understand the behavior of children who are brought up under this parenting style. What parenting style am I talking about? I'm talking about the casual parenting style. What kind of behavior do we expect from these children? They definitely exhibit certain behavior. This I would like you to read up in the Educational Foundation 2 by Dr. Brunet. Now, I am also Unit 4 of Ms. Nemat differ a little bit, where she talked about the impact of contemporary social issues on the quality of Namibian national education. So there I have taken some topics that you will have to go through, like the term poverty. To understand the term poverty, what does poverty mean? Be able to understand and explain the differences between absolute and relative poverty. So we have two types. There's the absolute one and there is the relative poverty. So I will need you to understand these two concepts. Another concept I would like you to understand is the one in bullet 3, what the causes of poverty in Namibia. We know that you wouldn't need to look very far. Read books, add it to what you already have. One mistake you don't make is just coming with your sense knowledge to answer questions. Yes, it is useful. It will fetch you some point, but make sure you read books, facts to back up whatever you are saying. So that is why it is important to do some research. It is not that your idea is totally, no, it's very, very relevant. Merge them together, bring them together, then you have a good quality write-up. So understand the influence of television and mass media in creating a poor culture among Namibian youths. I think you did a little bit of this in the assignment. Many of you have done very well. You go through this topic again for me. Many of you didn't really know what you were expected to do. Read about it. It's interesting. We see so many learners engrossed with television viewing, engrossed with the social media. What are the influences this is having on the learners? Why is it creating a poor culture among our youth? So I would like you to look at that. For help, you may need to consult the Educational Foundation too by Mrs. Nemat. Now, that is all about the presentation for this afternoon. Now, sorry, I am still moving forward. That does not end it. There's another unit here, Unit 4 and 5. We just talked about Unit 4. Unit 5 is also there. Remember I said that our syllabus covers from Unit 1 to Unit 5. So we will not do justice to the whole content if we end without including Unit 5. So I have put in some things in Unit 5 which you will need to go through for us to really do justice to this presentation. So in Unit 5 is talking about sociology of education, a perspective on the family, an analysis of educational law issues in Namibia. So there, what are we expected to read about in this particular topic? The term vulnerability. Vulnerability, what does it mean? It is well explained, so you read it. And I would also like you to read about the implication of the changes in economic, social, emotional, and educational setup of the present-day family. What is the implication of the changes we see in the economic, social, emotional, and educational setup of the family? That you can also read. And then the chapter, the Unit 5 proper, deals with understanding the function of education laws. So I will need you to understand the functions education laws perform. What are the functions of education law? Understand the steps to be taken when a learner is absent from school. That you may refer to the Namibian Education Act 16 of 2001 regarding the school attendance. That also has been well explained by Mrs. Nemat. You can read the study guide. She explained this very well. Now, having said that, this is the end of my presentation. I think I ended earlier. So, but remember that chapter 4 and 5 of the model, we still have, like I have presented now, so you will still need to go through them. So disregard the previous first place where I wrote the end. It extended to the Unit 5. So you need to also read the Unit 5. So having said that, that is where it has ended for this presentation. Now give me a call if you are confused. Whenever you feel confused, you don't know what to do, I'm always available to assist you. My cell phone number I have stated below in the next slide, as well as my email. Please note that when you are making such calls, don't call me 8 o'clock in the morning, don't call me around 3 o'clock. I will not have time to respond to you. If you really want us to talk, please do call me between 6 and 8 o'clock in the evening. By that time, I will have enough time for us to discuss whatever you want from me. Please do not call earlier than that. Some people call me at the wrong time. When I say I don't have time, they may feel offended. And actually, those times I may not have time for you. But if you stick to this time and say, Miss, 8 to 6 o'clock, 8 o'clock, between 6 and 8, you give me a call to discuss any issue you have, I will definitely have time for you. Alternatively, send me an SMS stating your problem, and I will get back to you around that time. If you tell me what the problem is, state it very clearly. Sometimes you state the problem is very vague. I cannot make out head or tail of what you are saying. If it is well stated for me, and I really, grasp what you are saying, I am really going to get back to you between that 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock. Now, I want to say thank you and good luck in all your assessments. I wish you all the best. I wish you God's blessing this time and coverage. So take care, read very hard. I am looking forward to reading the answers to your April examination. I'm looking forward to that of August. I'm also looking forward to that of November. So I wish you all the best, and I hope you will do your best. Start now. Don't wait until it's late. Don't wait 2 weeks to the exam in April before you begin to read. Start from now. If you start now, you will not need to struggle. Thank you very much.